من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على سيدنا وعظيمنا وحبيب قلوبنا والشفيع نفوسنا أبي القاسم محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وأهل بيت الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الصادقين المظلومين المنتجبين المنتخبين الذين أذهب اللهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على وصي مصطفى عبدك ووليك وأخي رسولك وحجتك على خلقك وآيتك الكبرى والنبأ العظيم أبا الحسنين مولى القونين إمام الثقلين يأسوب الدين سيد المتقين رأس المحسنين سلطان الأولياء أمير المؤمنين أول المسلمين أسد الله الغالب غالب كل غالب مظهر العجائب علي بن أبي طالب. اللهم صل على الحمد لله الذي لا يهتك حجابه ولا يغلق بابه ولا يرد سائله ولا يخيب آمله. أما بعد، فيقول الله في كتاب الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنما أموالكم وأولادكم فتنة. Brothers, sisters, respected elders, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. You find over the previous 3 nights we have discussed the human being within its entirety. We have looked into tabi'ah and also looked into fitrah. And you find that the ego itself is tabi'ah driven, and the divinely inspired self that tells us to diminish and shatter our ego is driven by fitrah. And one is focusing on the animal self and the other is focusing on the godly self. And you find that both of these are intrinsic, for they are symbiotic to one another. And without one or without the other, we will never be able to succeed within this life. For if we did not have tabi'ah, which effectively pushes us against our fitrah, then how are we to reach above that of the angels? And if we only had fitrah, then we would be an angel. Because then we wouldn't have any of our own desires. We'd be requested and ordered by Allah and we would submit. That is why the human being can go above the angels or indeed below that of the animals. And you find that what we established yesterday is that it is our choice. Whatever we choose to become, we can become that. you find, I gave you the example of Shaitan yesterday, that Shaitan was the one who worshipped the most out of all of Allah's creatures at that particular time. And you found he made the choice and said to Allah, I want you to repay me for all of my good deeds and give me life till the day of judgment. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is merciful. If any of us wanted to do that, then we can also say that, Ya Allah, whatever good I've done on this earth, I want you to recompense me on this earth, and then whatever you want to do in the hereafter, then that situation is separate. But I want everything here. I do not want Ahl al-Bayt, I do not want you, I do not want the Prophet, I do not want anything except this world. Then like Shaitan, Allah will give it to you, but then be prepared for eternal punishment. Like Shaitan, when he is thrown into the fire, many people say this, don't they? They say, hold on, Shaitan is made of fire and hell is made of fire, so how is fire going to hurt fire? Well, you find even within here, you have, for example, what? You have the yellow flame, then you have the orange flame, and then you have the killer blue flame. So you find that even fire has different levels within itself, but that's a discussion for another day. And you find that Shaitan will be put into that fire for the rest of eternity. And what we established over the last 3 days is that it is our egoic self that causes us to stray away from the path of salvation. And we go onto this path of evil, and indeed sometimes the path of inaction as well. That you'll find that even inaction is an action. Inaction is an action. That if you find that you lay on the sofa all day and do nothing, you don't pray, you don't fast, you acted out something through not acting. So you find that when we follow our egoic self, we effectively lose ourselves within this material world. And that's why it is very important, like I mentioned yesterday, that we focus on the heart. See, when I ask anyone a question, I say, who are you? What is your name? You find 9 out of 10 people, what will they say? They'll say, my name is. No one's going to say, my name is. It looks silly. Everyone will say, my name is. So why is it that even though science tells us that the mind is the most important thing, so then if the mind is the most important thing, but when I talk about myself, or when I say I, why is it always I point to my chest? Why don't I point here? Because this is where I am according to science. I'm up here. But you point to your heart because it is the central. It is central within your body, but also central where your spirit lies as well. So therefore you find that if I was to ask you a question, a very simple question, if I said to you that you have your mind and you have your heart, what would you rather keep if you had to make a choice? If people say that I would rather keep my mind, then you have a heart attack and die. Very simple. But if people say that I want to keep my heart, but I'll lose my mind, you find that even those people who lose their mind, who have a good heart, they would never harm another person. Now you find that some people, when they gain insanity, when they go crazy, if their heart was good and clean from before, you find even those people will not do anything that is grievous to another human being. And that's why you always say that even when people do bad things, so for example, when people drink alcohol, for example, or do such sins, what do people say? Oh, he's got a good heart. It makes me laugh sometimes as well, because then you're like, you know what? Take his heart, put that in heaven, and put the rest of it in hell. You know, what is the point of having action and all of this if you still got a good heart after doing every sin under the, dictionary? So you find that when we talk about the heart, even if I give you an example, if I said to you, what would you rather pick? If I said that your heart is effectively your eyes, if we were in a dark room, and I give you this example, and I said that this is a dark room, and what would you rather pick? Would you rather pick your eyes or a torch? Completely dark. Completely dark. You can't see nothing. You know that darkness when you're falling over everywhere? You find out, what will you pick? Will you pick your eyes or will you pick the torch? Well, if you pick the torch and you don't have any eyes, then even if the thing was in front of you, you wouldn't know about it. But if, for example, you picked your eyes, even if there was an off chance that the light might come back on or something may happen, you can still use your eyes. Your eyes will always guide you. Likewise, the heart is exactly the same. The heart will always guide you to the destination that it was built for. And that is your fitrah. Your tabi'ah will offer you pleasures, will offer you tests and trials. Through food, through lust, through whatever it may be. Through work, through money, through power. But your heart, somewhere deep in your heart, it will always tell you where to go, where it points to. Now it's our duty to listen to it. But the only way we can listen to it is to keep it pure. I'll give you an example. If I had a compass and this compass points to land. Yes, it points to land, the compass points to land, and I have a ship. And I'm a sailor and I'm a captain of this ship. I know that this compass points to land. But I am the captain and I make the decision not to listen to the compass and go a different way. Then whose fault is that? Is that the compass's fault or the captain's fault? You find likewise your heart will always point you in the right direction. But your tabi'ah, your animal instincts, certain times your mind will misguide you. Isn't it true? How many times the mind misguides? When you're in a desert, for example, and there's no water, the mind makes you see water, and there's no water there. You find, what do people say? The mind is playing tricks on me. Sometimes when you watch a horror movie in the middle of the night, and when you want to, for example, flush the toilet, you think twice about flushing it. Some people, after they watch a horror movie, they can't even, if the light goes off, he starts screaming. You find that night, he's 18 years old and he goes and sleeps with his parents. He says, I can't sleep. I need to sleep in the same room as you. Protect me. Brother, you're 18 years old now. You should be living on your own. You're still scared of little ghosts. So you find that the mind will play tricks on you. Your tabi'ah will play tricks on you. Shaitan will play tricks on you. But the only way these tricks, these holograms, these illusions, these mirages can be removed from you is through focusing on your fitrah. Focusing on your connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now ask everyone a simple question here. When was the last time you spoke to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? I guarantee you 99% of people have never. And people say, oh, you're talking about dua. No, I'm not talking about dua. I'm not talking about manufactured, machine-like praying. I said, when was the last time you spoke to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? You sat there and you thanked Allah. You sat there and said to Allah, I have this problem, I have that problem. When was the last time? What connection have you built with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? I'm not talking about prayers, I'm not talking about fasting. What connection have you built with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? It's ironic because people come and they ask questions, they ask questions about Allah. Why did, Allah create me? What is my purpose? Brother, when was the last time you spoke to Allah? Brother, how much do you know about Allah? You're worried about why Allah created you. First find out who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. And then people say, what are you talking about? How can you find out what Allah... So you're telling me Najul Balagha talks about Allah, Imam Ali doesn't know. People have been talking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala since the beginning of existence, or they're all crazy. So you might as well pick up theology in this religion and throw it away. Am I saying that you can understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in His entirety? No. But if you can understand a little bit, even 0.1% of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's being, then that is 0.1% closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Many people will say, they'll ask you a question, right? I'll make it very simple for everyone here tonight. They'll ask you, what cricket team do you support? What football team do you support? Yes, they'll ask you this question. One of the favorite questions in Q&A. What football team do you support? So you ask them, brother, what football team do you support? Manchester United, they say. Right? The Red Devils, may Allah forgive them, following shaitan. Yes, you find the Red Devils, they follow these individuals. Yes, may Allah forgive them. Change your team. And you find out what? You'll ask them about the starting 11. They'll tell you about the starting 11. They'll tell you about the bench. They'll tell you about how many times the manager's been changed. They'll tell you about the history of the club. Say, brother, when you were born, I was born in the year 2000. He'll tell you about 1800s what happened to Manchester United. And you ask him, tell me about Allah. Allah is one. Okay, carry on. No, that's it, brother. Alhamdulillah, that's all I know. I don't understand why people ask questions. People ask questions, right? They don't know 1 plus 1, and they want to know algebra. Imagine I didn't know how to do 1 plus 1, and I go into A-level classroom and I say, teach me algebra. Brother, you don't even know 1 plus 1. You're talking about algebra. So the point here is, look, the question isn't the issue. Ask whatever question you want. You'll get an answer. But the answer will never satisfy you because you haven't created a foundation for the answer. How can you accept something with your heart when there is nothing in regards to that thing within your heart? In this heart you put, for example, in the heart you'll put about the lust that you have with food. You'll put all of these other loves that you have in your heart. And then you wonder why I don't understand Allah. I don't understand why I can't cry for Abu Abdullah. People say this, oh brother, I can't cry for Abu Abdullah. Sometimes I'm reading Masahib, I see people looking at my face. Brother, if you can't cry, for at least lower your head in respect of what's happening here. The reality is to why we can't cry for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, why we can't cry about our sins, why we can't cry over Abu Abdullah is because our hearts are hardened. That's the truth. No one likes to hear it, but it's the fact. We're so tabi'ah driven, so ego driven, that we've forgotten about our heart. Like I mentioned yesterday, we're so busy exfoliating our faces, picking the right gels. Yes? I need to, for example, thread this part of my face and thread that part of my face. When was the last time you worked on your soul? When was the last time you thought about your soul? The soul is there, ugly, has cobwebs on it, has never been cleaned. Some people have never even repented. When we repent, you know how we repent? It's like our tasbih after prayers. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. I don't know what you're saying, brother. Hamda, hamda. What's hamda? What are you talking about? To the extent when people say salawat, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. What's salah? What is that? What are you talking about? People don't even have that much patience to say a one word correctly.
محمد وعلى محمد صلوات اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد
And sometimes the case is because we have a lack of knowledge. That's the truth. It's a lack of knowledge. Yes, knowledge can make you arrogant. There's no doubt about that. Knowledge can make you arrogant. But if you're in a world where there's every single chance of gaining knowledge, you know, there's a website called alislam.org. There's over 100 books about God on there. Over 100 books about God. Over 100 books about history. When was the last time we picked up a religious book? You'll ask people in this room, they'll tell you about Khalil Gibran, they'll tell you about Khalil Husseini, they'll tell you about Paul Coelho, they'll tell you about all of these authors. So brother, how many books you read? Alhamdulillah, I've read about 70, 80 books. When was the last time you picked up an Islamic one? Oh no, I don't read that. Oh, so you don't read, but you know, we're the first to question everything, but picking up the book is too hard for us. Brothers and sisters, look, everyone can come here and tell you about Islam and tell you about religion. You can come here and do a majlis every single year, every single day, but until you don't want to change, then Allah can't change you. It's simple as this. It's really as simple as this. If you do not want to change, you do not want to have that motivation to change within yourself, then I can come here and beat the drum of religion every single day. People can come on the ground and beat the drum of religion every single day, but it's not going to pierce your heart. Because your heart is not ready to accept it. Your heart, I'll give you an example, I'll give you an analogy of what your heart is. There's two types of hearts in this world. Now imagine the rays of light, a strong light, yes? A strong light is coming from the sun. And this sun that we have, we use a microscope to reflect the light even more and make it concentrated. Now when we have this, we put a piece of wood and we put a piece of butter. Piece of wood and piece of butter. When you put that concentrated light on the piece of wood, what will happen? It will get black. It will darken. It may get on fire. But what will ultimately it do? It will stay hard. It will stay hard. When the light is reflected in the same way on butter, what happens? Butter what? Butter melts. You find that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is continuously guiding us. Whether that guidance comes through, for example, a car accident, whether it comes to a family member's death, whether it comes through, for example, I don't know, you getting ill for some reason, Allah will guide us. Allah will allow that light to shine upon our hearts. But if our heart is like wood, that guidance will cause our hearts to become even darker. But if our heart is soft, crying makes the heart soft. If our heart is soft, then that butter like our heart will melt and will accept the light of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because why? It's a very potent example. When a solid goes into a liquid, why? Because it accepts the energy. Accepts the energy and becomes liquid. Those of you who know basic chemistry will know this. Yes, those vibrations that come through. That heat that comes through. And therefore you find that our heart needs to be soft. And the only way to make our heart soft is by firstly asking for forgiveness for our sins. I've said this from the first majlis and I'll continue to say this probably until the last majlis I ever give. And what I say is very simple. It is not easy. When you've spent 10 years of your life sinning, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, it is not easy. Just like it is not easy when you've eaten a certain way and you want to go on a particular diet. It's not easy. It's not easy at all. I can give you a very potent example here. See, One day I went on a bike ride. And the first point of the bike ride, those of you who know that when you go on a bike ride, sometimes there's hills. Yes? Before I even began the journey, the first obstacle was this massive hill, and I had to go up the hill. When I got to the top of the hill, I was gasping for breath. I felt like, I couldn't breathe. But I pushed through that suffering, that pain, I pushed through it. Then I realized that the journey became easier. And there were a few more hills along the way, but you find that I conquered those hills. But when it got towards the middle and towards the end of the journey, I found the path became easy. Even if the hills came in front of me, it was no issue, I would have gone straight through them. Therefore you find you have to get over that initial rut. That's why Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib salawatullah salamu alayhi, he says, after the sweetness of disobedience is the bitterness of obedience. I've said this before and I keep saying it every day. That after the sweetness of disobedience, say why? Amir al-Mu'mineen, why do you say sweetness of disobedience? Do you know why? Because he understands the tabi'ah of the human. He realizes that it is easy to be disobedient, isn't it? Easy. That for example, someone says to you, do something. For example, I say to someone, get me some water. It is easy to just carry on sitting there and ignoring me. It's very easy. It is very easy, for example, it's prayer time and I carry on playing on my computer or watching my program. It's very easy. But isn't it bitter when the heart is attached to something and you rip yourself away from that thing in order to glorify Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Isn't it difficult? I remember reading this quote on Facebook a very long time ago, and it really amused me. And it was about a guy. He says, he turns around and says, I go to the gym and I can bench press 150 kg. So mashallah, 150 is quite a lot. Not as much as me, but that's not bad. But you find 150 kg, mashallah, that's a lot. So one of the guys says to him, says, mashallah, that's good, brother, but can you bench press your blanket in the morning for Fajr? And he smiles at him because he knows the guy doesn't pray. So you find that it's easy going lifting weights. Over a period of time you can reach a particular level. But even the strongest of men sometimes struggle to pick up that little thin blanket in the morning. Isn't it? So therefore you find that what we must do, Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. What we must do is indeed focus on becoming stronger physically, but focus more on becoming stronger spiritually. And the only way we do this is through suffering. That's the only way. That if you want to become whatever you want to become in life, in the afterlife, you have to go through suffering. There's no two ways about it. You have to go through suffering. I said this in the first few nights as well. I said, look, if you want that beach body, which many of us don't have at the moment, but summer is very far away now, so it's no problem. So you find that if you want that beach body, what do you have to do? You have to go through suffering to get it. If you want to have that spiritual power, many people ask me this question, just before I can do it. Many people ask me, they say, we don't understand something, so what don't you understand? So Amir al-Mu'mineen lifted the gate of Khaybar, yes? So yes, he did. So what's your point? They say, but he was a skinny individual, he was very skinny because he didn't eat very much. But he had broad shoulders, and I said, so what's your point? Whether he was skinny or bulky, what's the issue? So I don't understand how a man can pick up a gate that 15 other men, it takes 15 other men to pick up the gate. I just don't understand it. I said, brother, you know what? You need to stop looking through your physical eyes then, don't you? You need to stop thinking with this. You need to think with this. So what do you mean? What do you mean? Because Amir al-Mu'mineen did not pick up the gate with his muscles in his arms. He picked up the gate of Khaybar with the spiritual powers that were given to him by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's different. And this is what we need to understand. That the body has limitations, but the spirit, the ruh, has no limitations. The heart has no limitations. Those of you who know anything about the Iron Man, I don't know if anyone knows, not Iron Man the movie, but Iron Man the triathlon. It's something that where you do a particular distance in swimming, in running, yes, and cycling. It's called the Iron Man. There's a man by the name of David Goggins. If you don't know him, Google him. Very interesting character. You know what he says? He says there was a time where I done an Ironman and there were blisters on my feet. There were splits in my shins. So they asked him, how did you keep going? Your body couldn't handle it. Do you know what he says? He says, I wrapped tape around my shins. I put tape on my feet where there were blisters. And I carried on running. Said, why? He goes, because the body has limitations, but the heart can travel to distances where the body cannot. That's why whenever you see anyone in MMA or boxing, anything, what would they say? They say, that guy's got a lot of heart. They never say he's got a good mind. Because usually they take too many hits in the head and they haven't got a clue what's going on. Right? But they say he's got an amazing heart. Why? Because he carries on fighting when he can't fight. But this, like I said, is built. No one is gifted this. Everyone has to earn this. And we earn this through our tests. إِنَّمَا أَمْوَالُكُمْ وَأَوْلَادُكُمْ فِتْنَةً. We are tested through our children, our possessions, our wives, our husbands, our family members, our community, everyone around us. We are tested. And these tests will allow us to get to the next level, if we so choose to get to the next level. And this is what we need to understand. This is what we need to understand. That the more we focus on our soul, the more power we will have physically, the more power we will have mentally. You know, there's a beautiful story, I always remember this. They say Ayatollah Khomeini, may Allah bless his soul, he used to go in the winter time. You know, sometimes you wake up for Fajr, or sometimes you wake up early in the morning and you splash that cold water in your face. Many of us don't do that, do we? We let the tap run, get the hot water out, and we wait nicely, nice and mashallah, nice and lovely hot water, yes? Because we don't want any pain to come towards our body, just in case something good may happen to us. You know Ayatollah Khomeini, do you know what he used to do? In the winter, there would be snow in Iran. Snow. He would have a little spring outside. If you've been to his house, he's got that little spring. They said there would be ice covering that water. He would break the ice with his hand for Fajr prayers. For Fajr, after he's woken up, he's just woken up. He'd break the water, break the ice, and the water, imagine how cold that water is. They say he would do wudu with that water. Say, why? So Ayatollah, why are you doing zulm on yourself? Be like us, the modern day Shia, nice hot water, feel good. Yes, heating's on, no problem. But you find that when a human being puts himself through adversity, it allows him to become better. And I'm not going to take too much of your time, because obviously we need to do Masaib as well. But I want everyone to go home today and research something called the Wim Hof method. And I want you to look at the scientific studies about the Wim Hof method. Because what that individual does, he takes suffering to a different level. And through his suffering, he gains a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala like no other. Let me just give you a snippet. They tested the Wim Hof method, and what that basically is a particular breathing technique. You have ice cold showers. No, ice cold. Yes, ice cold showers. And they done a scientific experiment on him. So they would put a particular bacteria into people's bodies, and that would cause them to be ill for a couple of hours. Everyone who done the Wim Hof method, including Wim Hof himself, you find that their bodies were able to prevent the flu from happening. They tested over 1,000 people, and everyone had the same result except the people who went through a particular suffering. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He tells you and puts you through trials and tests you, He's doing it for your benefit, not His. The problem is, we don't have the heart to see. I didn't say the mind, I said we don't have the heart to see. And I tell you, there was no heart like the heart of Ali Muhammad in Karbala. There was no heart like their hearts. And there was no heart like the mother of Qasim, Farwa. There was no heart like hers. That every time Qasim would go towards Abu Abdullah said, listen, I can't send you. Says, why? Says, I can't send you. Is every time I see you, I see my brother Hassan in front of me. I can't send you. I see my brother, my Imam in front of me. I cannot send you. Go back. He would come and then he would be sent back. He would come and then he would be sent back. Every time this would happen. Eventually, he begins to cry in front of his mother and says, oh mother, uncle won't let me go. Uncle won't let me go. Yes, uncle won't let me go. Owen and Muhammad have gone. Akbar have gone. Everyone has gone, but this Qasim hasn't left yet. This Qasim hasn't left. So they say that he had something on his body. And the mother of Qasim said that your father said that when the day comes that my brother becomes ghareeb, when my brother becomes a person who's lonely, then take this off and read what it says. They say Farma takes it off. Qasim begins to read, he begins to cry. He says, oh my father, and it says on the letter, he says, oh Hussein, when the day comes that no one is on your left and no one's on your right, then allow my son Qasim to defend you in Karbala. They say he goes towards Abu Abdullah with this letter, he goes towards him, Abu Abdullah kisses the letter, he puts it on his right eye and his left eye. He begins to cry. He says, Qasim, how can I let you go? But my Imam has told me I have to let you go. He begins to cry and says, my brother Hassan even thought about me, even before he died. So they say, Qasim, he puts the turban on Qasim. He puts the shield. And brothers, you know when you put a shield on a warrior, usually the shield fits nicely. The way it fit with Qasim, they say the shield was as big as Qasim. The armor was longer for Qasim. Qasim went out to the battlefield, he finished one man, he finished another man, he finished another man. But then Umar ibn Asad said, this is the grandson of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Surround him with 20 or 30 men and attack him from every side. When they attacked him from every side, one man hit him with a spear and another man hit him with a sword. Another one struck him with a whip. Qasim fell to the ground and they began to mold the body of Qasim. And when they mold the body, he began to say, Assalamu alayka ya ammi, ya Aba Abdullah. They say Abu Abdullah comes and he sees the killer of Qasim and he kills the killer of Qasim. He comes back round to Qasim. He falls to the ground. And when he falls to the ground, he begins to cry and he says to Qasim, he says, "Oh Qasim, how distraught am I that when you call your uncle he's of no avail, and when your uncle comes it is too late. Please forgive me, oh Qasim." They say when Abu Abdullah took the bodies back, he would take the body upon his back. He would take the bodies upon his back. Ali Akbar on his back. And Muhammad on his back. When they took the body of Qasim, he had to take off his cloak and put the body of Qasim in the cloak and take it. And when they got the body towards the tent, you find Lady Zainab was with and Muhammad. You find Farma with Qasim. You find that Layla was with Ali al-Akbar. And you find I ask Abu Abdullah, I ask you this question. When Qasim died, you brought his body back. When Ali al-Akbar died, you brought his body back. When Ali Asghar was killed, you brought the body back. But I ask you, Abu Abdullah, when you're on the plains of Karbala, who will bring your body back? They will not bring your body back. Rather, you will taste the hooves of the horses crushing your body on the ground.